you are not going to quit this time. This time is going to be the time where you prove to yourself that you can keep a promise that you make to yourself. The more we can learn to be the most authentic versions of ourselves and develop such strong love and self-belief within, everything else is going to change.
Hi, my name is Pernilla, and this is my Challenge Your Norm podcast. I'm absolutely obsessed with anything related to personal development. And well, to grow, we got to challenge our norm. And so on this podcast, we chat about life and how we can challenge our normal way of living it to make it greater than we could have ever imagined. Just one little belief, habit, bold move, and challenge at a time.
Hello and welcome back to another episode here on my Challenge Your Norm podcast. My name is Pernilla, and today the topic I want to talk with you about, I'm hoping is going to spark some new level of self-awareness for you to create the life that you deep down want. A theme in my life within the last week, and especially on this call that I was just on with my October challengers, has been this idea of how big of a role our self-perception and self-love plays in the life that we are living, creating, experiencing every single day of our life. And when we work towards deepening our connection with ourselves, deepening the self-love that we have, the self-perception that this idea of who we are in this world, how that shifts our entire world, our entire life, our relationships, our businesses, our family life, and how we feel on a daily basis. I think this is the most important work that we can do for ourselves and for the world around us, really, because the more love we have towards ourselves, the more we take this inner work seriously and commit to it, the more authentic we can learn to become rather than do whatever we think we have to do, what we think other people want for us to do, what we're taught by society that we need to do, the circumstances that we grew up in. The more we can learn to be the most authentic versions of ourselves and develop such strong love and self-belief within, everything else is going to change. When I was 18, I tried for the first time doing the mirror exercise, where you look yourself in the mirror and you tell yourself, Pernilla, I love you. Insert your own name here, of course. And I was bawling my eyes out. I've shared this story before, but I really did not love myself. And that showed in other areas of my life because I put such barriers and limits on myself and what I was capable of doing. And I would walk around, please everyone so that they would love me, so that I could prove to them that I was good enough, I was worthy, I was a good human, because I didn't think so myself. So at least if I made someone else think that I was good enough of a human, then I would feel better about myself. But we won't ever feel good enough unless it comes from within, right? And we won't ever, we all have that friend who we see so clearly is such a beautiful soul, has all the capabilities in the world to go towards this dream, this goal, this thing that they want in their life. But because they just don't believe in themselves, they don't love themselves, they don't see their own true value and power and strength and just uniqueness that they have to them, they're not taking the action that they need to be taking in order for them to go towards this thing that they deep down want, because they haven't built this self-trust and self-belief and self-love in order for them to have the confidence to do so. I will share this quote that I've shared many times on this podcast, but it just resonates so well with me. A human cannot take consistent aligned action that does not align with who they deep down believe themselves to be. This means that if you think of yourself as someone who can't do hard things, who can't keep promises to themselves, who isn't anything special, who isn't hardworking, then yes, you may get really excited, and for a few weeks you may show up because you got really excited about a goal and you decided that you were going to take those action. But if you deep down don't believe that you're someone who sticks to the promises that you make to yourself, that you are a lazy person, then you're not going to stay committed and consistent with it. So what we got to do is develop this self-trust. And one of the women that is a part of my October challenge, she's someone who, when she signed up, she was saying how she really wants to do this, but she has a history of getting excited about something, but then falling off of track and not committing to it. And she really wanted to stay consistent with this journaling. And she was so afraid and nervous that she was just going to fall off of track like she always has. But like with anything, if we start small, we commit, and sometimes we have an accountability partner or some sort of community, someone to support us, or commitment that if we don't stick to it, then we're going to lose something that we don't want to lose, like money, for example. Like we make a bet, and if you don't commit to this thing, then you're going to lose a certain amount of money or whatever, something that really makes you want to continue doing it. If you start by setting a small little goal that feels sort of kind of achievable, and you commit to it, and you see yourself go through this thing and continuously do the thing that you promise yourself to do, you will have built a little bit more self-trust, a little bit more this belief that, oh, when I set myself a goal, I am actually able to commit and follow through with it. And what happened with this woman who really wanted to get into journaling and stick to that, on the first chat we had, both like in the group, she like had mentioned it, but then in the first group chat we had, I said to her, I promise you, you are not going to quit this time. This time is going to be the time where you prove to yourself that you can keep a promise that you make to yourself. And we're on day 22 today, and she is still going strong. And she mentioned today in the chat that, oh wow, it's very, very cool to see and experience that I set this goal for myself and I'm continuously doing it. It makes me build this level of resilience that, oh wow, if I actually can do this in this area, then I can do it in all areas. And so when we want to build this new belief about ourselves, if we believe we're lazy and we cannot stick to going to the gym, it's this idea that I think he shares in Atomic Habits, that book. James Clear, I think is the author, mentions like, okay, if you want to go to the gym and you have a habit of like doing it and then, quitting after a week or 3 weeks, whatever, however long you last, and then you quit, it's about, okay, I'll make it the commitment that I just have to go there and warm up. Or first, maybe you just have to go there. And then next, you have to go there and warm up. And you don't have to do any workouts, but you just have to warm up. You start building this new self-belief that, okay, I told myself I was just going to go there. And you see yourself doing that. Oh, I actually can keep the promises to myself that I make. And then you see yourself starting to warm up. And maybe sometimes, when you're warmed up, you want to work out anyway. And then you start seeing yourself actually being consistent with showing up at the gym, and you start creating a new self-belief that, oh wow, I'm actually not that lazy, because here I am working out every day. And then that will compound effect. Okay, well, if I'm not lazy when it comes to my workouts, maybe I can be a little bit more productive at work and not quit before the final last 2 tasks are complete. Maybe I can actually, make sure that I check off every single task before I leave the office every day. And then you start to develop all of these new self-beliefs about yourself. I feel like that's really been my entire journey. It's been this thinking that it's been understanding, connecting with my belief about myself, the belief that I maybe wasn't even aware of, but because it's been so subconsciously grounded within me, becoming aware of it, and then slowly taking actions that help me change that belief about myself. I think that self-love can be created through affirmations. That can help. It can be developed through creating these promises and commitments to yourself and showing up for yourself. For example, developing a journaling practice where every day you show up to care for yourself. I believe for me, my journaling practice really is a way of connecting with myself, getting to know myself better. And we all know that when we connect deeply with a human, the more we start to care about that person, right? Like someone who used to be a stranger, the more we get to know them, the more layers we get to uncover, the more love we can also start to develop with these people in our lives. And I think the same goes with ourselves. The more we dare to dig into those layers in our journal, or however, some people, they do it through meditation or like the mirror exercise I was talking about, the more we can really take time, maybe it's a walk in nature for you, the more we can really take time to connect with ourselves and focus on appreciating everything that we are, everything that we've gone through, the challenges we've overcome, how worthy and strong we were for overcoming those, accept ourselves for the mistakes that we make, the more self-love we can create for ourselves. And when we have self-love for ourselves, we won't need that external validation in the same way anymore, because if we know we're okay, we will no longer need to constantly prove ourselves to other people. And I really think that the more self-love we have, the more we are going to trust life, trust ourselves, that when a challenge comes our way, we're able to overcome it because we've connected so much with ourselves and reflected on our past throughout our journaling and throughout whatever ways of connecting with ourselves that we've done, that we know we've overcome these challenges before. We know how strong we are, that we trust that we're able to overcome these new challenges that come our way, and they're probably going to help us become better humans. Something that we spoke about today in the chat is this idea of whenever we get annoyed, irritated, angry at someone else for doing something, how that is always a representation of our inner world. If I'm judging someone for any quality, let's say selfish, if I constantly, continuously get irritated, annoyed, angry at people that are being selfish, it is because I've not yet learned to love my own personal selfish side. So the way, and this is the reason I'm saying selfish, is because that's something that I have dealt with in the past a lot. Just being so confused and about people that could dare to be selfish, because I was taught as a child not to be selfish because that would be almost evil. But when I learned to appreciate and love my selfish sides, because the truth is we're all born whole. We're whole humans when we're born. And then as we grow up, we learn ways to be and ways to not to be in order for us to be worthy, loved in this world. Regardless of how incredible childhoods we've had, we all have some sort of trauma and lessons learned as to how are we going to be loved by the people around us. And so I was in my own world. I had made this vision that if I was going to be loved in this world, I had to not be selfish. And so if anyone else was selfish, because I learned to not love that side of myself, I also would not love it, or really the complete opposite of love it when other people were that. But when I started to dig into this and started to realize, okay, when in my life have I been selfish? Maybe when I really wanted that last piece of cake, I was selfish. Okay, well, what was I feeling in that moment? I was feeling like I just really wanted that last piece of cake and I ate it. And that was really selfish of me. Okay, so you were selfish. Was that all bad, or is there some positive sides to being selfish? Well, I really enjoyed that last piece of cake. It felt like I really, really wanted it, and I think I needed it more than maybe the other people around the table needed this piece of cake. Oh, okay. So there is you found some use. There was something positive about you being selfish. Yes, okay. So it's okay, I guess, sometimes to be selfish. It brought me value in that situation to be selfish. Okay. So being selfish is not always bad. So then I could start to learn to love this selfish side of myself. And what was so profound was that when I started to learn to love that selfish side of myself, slowly, when other people were selfish, I could relate. Oh, this person is why am I getting annoyed by this person right now? It's because they're being selfish. Like always, if you get annoyed by someone, ask yourself, what quality, what thing that they just did is it that I'm getting irritated by? What is it that's triggering something within me that doesn't feel good? And for me, let's say someone was being selfish in front of me. I could start to see, oh, they're being selfish right now. Could they have some reason for them being selfish? And once I could see that and start to learn to love that side within myself, my selfish side, I could start to reflect that and see that within other people who were being selfish. And I'm sharing this because whenever in my life, this is something we were talking about on the call as well, whenever in my life I get irritated by anyone, whether it be someone in my family, a partner, a friend, I can ask myself, what is the quality within what they just did that is irritating me? And once I get to the bottom of what quality it is, I can ask myself, have I ever felt that way? Have I ever been in that way that they are right now? And once I can find a time in my life where I've acted that way, and I can start to understand why I needed to be that way in that situation, I can then start to understand them. And when I can even start to love that side of myself, I also will no longer get triggered when they are like that. And it's like a never ending lesson, because there's always going to be, little things in life that come up. But once we start to learn to love every single little quality that we see we get irritated by others doing, being, whenever we really get to the bottom of learning to love that side within ourselves, it will no longer affect our energy when other people are that. We may be able to see it. We may not want to act like that or in our own life. We may not want to be around that type of energy, that type of behavior, that type of action. That is one thing, to see it, acknowledge it, accept it, but then turn our face the other way and be like, I don't want that in my life. That's okay. But it's a massive, that and allowing our energy to be impacted by it and judging it and letting it affect our energy and our emotional state is two completely different things. I really feel like this has been one of the biggest, most powerful lessons I've learned in life, is that whenever I feel irritated, annoyed by something a parent or a partner or someone in my life does, it could be as simple as someone rushing through traffic. This was an example I gave in the group call today. If someone is rushing through traffic, some people get so frustrated by that. Like, how dare they cut in front of me in traffic? First of all, have you ever accidentally cut someone in traffic? What were the reasons? Could you learn to accept and love yourself for the fact that maybe you were really late that day, or you were just wanting to get home as soon as possible, or you were, whatever it is, that you were late for work, whatever. When you can accept and love that you just happened to have done that one day, then once you learn to do that, you will also no longer be frustrated by other people doing that. And it is a continuous life lesson, but it's a powerful one, because the people closest to us, of course, there's going to be triggering situations always when it's, let's say, a partner, a romantic relationship. But when we really take control and ownership over the fact that if I'm getting irritated by my partner, it's about me, that's a game changer. That is a massive game changer. If you, the next time, realize you're getting frustrated with your romantic partner, with your best friend, with your parent, with your child, what is it? What is the quality that they're showing me right now that I need to learn to heal, to love within myself? Suddenly, when you then start to actually practice accepting, acknowledging, and loving that side to yourself that you had neglected or maybe hated since childhood, because you were taught, you had made this belief inside of your head happen that if you were to ever show that quality, you would not be good enough, worthy enough, loved in this world. When you start to reconnect with that side of yourself, start to learn to also accept that side to yourself, you will have acceptance and love towards this other human that is acting in that way as well. I really want you to get this, because, oh my goodness, something that was massive for me when I was younger was if someone was trying to get too much attention, they were too attention grabbing. Like, I would be like, you're just too much. And oh my gosh, profound freedom I have found since I started to realize, oh, the reason I'm getting so annoyed and triggered when people are just too much, being too loud, talking too much about themselves. The moment I realized that that was the quality that I needed to reconnect with within myself and learn to love, if I one day wanted to be that, I found such freedom because I could start to be myself. What we do as humans when we grow up and we're whole and we then learn that we can't be too much, we can't be too loud, is that we start to put this shadow on these different sides to ourselves. And once we can release that, there's a new level of freedom. And the crazy thing that I'm just realizing as I'm talking right now is that if I had not healed that, I think I started healing that in maybe when I was 19. This was one of the first things that I started working on in my self-development journey. This thing of like allowing myself to also be seen and heard, because as a child, I always wanted to be like quiet so that other people could get their space, because I thought that if I were to take up too much space, then I'd be too much and I wouldn't be loved and I would be just too much. And when I started to learn to love that side to myself, then I could start performing better in dancing. I literally could not be doing the job that I do today as a social media influencer. I call myself a content creator, but I'm realizing most people, they would call me like an influencer, right? If I still had that lid, that cap on myself as to I could not be too much, I could not be doing the work that I do today. Because I would constantly be judging myself for being too much, because I know the majority of people who look at my stuff are going to think that girl is too much. But you know what? I feel so free because I am allowing myself to sometimes be too much. And that's the beauty of when we have these difficulties, these challenges in life, and people frustrating us, and just hardships in relationships, is that they are really there to help us become the whole people, humans that we were meant to be in this world. And so if we see every single relationship challenge as something that really can help heal us, if we are willing to do that deep work, it's not fun. It's not fun always to do that work. Sometimes it is, but not always. Then we can become these whole humans. And only when we become these whole humans that love ourselves, that take care of ourselves every day, can we pursue these bigger things in our life that maybe deep down we want, but we're too afraid of, or we don't think we're capable of, or whatever limits we put on ourselves. I want to share one more thing about self-love. And that is, if we neglect taking care of ourselves and our focus is either just being busy or taking care of other people's need, and we never allow ourselves to fill ourselves up, that's when we will react in not the bestest of ways. And so again, if we happen to find ourselves in a place where we talk back to the people that mean the world to us, the closest people to us, that we criticize them, or we give them snatchy comments, or we reply in a way that is not loving, when really maybe deep down we know they don't deserve that. If we ever find ourselves in that place, again, that is a beautiful reminder and lesson that we need to take a breather for a second, and we need to ask ourselves, what does my younger self need right now? For me, I would ask, what do I need? What does Pernilla need right now? Maybe I gotta ask myself, what does 5-year-old Pernilla need right now? Because she's the one who's reacting. Does she need a day off? Does she need a warm bath? Does she need a long 2-hour journaling session? A long 2-hour walk in nature? What does she need right now? Because if we're living from a half-filled cup, we're not filled up, we also don't have anything else to give others. So if you are finding yourself ever in that place where you need to refuel yourself, it's so important that you take the time to refill your own cup. And yeah, maybe that means you're going to have to ask for help with someone taking care of your kids, or a sick day off work, or something that's uncomfortable. But if that would mean that for the next week or 2 weeks, you would have refilled up your cup, and that way could do your work so much better, you would treat your kids so much better, your partner so much better, you would feel good within. Would it not be worth it to have to maybe let someone down for a few hours for a day, but then instead come back and be able to give them so much more of the love, the productivity, whatever it is that you'll be able to bring when you come back, having refilled your cup? Maybe you need a full month. Like maybe you need like a real break to just reconnect with yourself, because in the midst of all of your busyness, you lost yourself. That is no way to live. And I've sometimes needed that. I've been like, okay, I need a break. Whatever I'm doing, it's not working. And I've been doing it too long, and I deserve this. Not just for me, but for all the people whose lives I would like to impact. Because the beautiful thing is that when we take care of ourselves and we do this in our work and we really take it serious, is that it does not just affect us. It affects everyone. It affects everything. I'm aware that this podcast episode was a little bit all around the place, but I just felt this need to share the importance, my belief about the importance of really taking care of ourselves, building this self-belief, self-love. I'm hoping that something I shared was useful for you. If you did think it was useful, I'm hoping that you would be willing to share it with a friend or on your story on social media. I'm trying to get more listeners, and you have no idea how much it helps when you help me put out the word. And really, if you subscribe and maybe even write a tiny little 3-word review. It helps the algorithm push this out to more people, and I would just appreciate that like crazy. I hope you challenge yourself to take care of yourself today in a new way, in a way that you've known for a long time that you've needed to do, but haven't made the time to do. That you do that today, or at least put some time in your calendar to make sure that you do that. I'm sending you so much love and light, and I hope you have an incredible rest of your day.